Hello, this is Tim Clark with End Times Matrix, April 29th. This is a Wednesday, 2015, and we are going to be doing a show today called Portals Opening Cern and Jade Helm New World Order 5776. And I just want to put out a notice at the beginning of this show so everybody that hears, we have the code searcher will be with us on Friday, May 1st, Beltane. And I thought it's great to have some Christian content on May 1st. And we're going to be covering his newest table. And it's actually connected to what we just did with the Valley of the Rephaim. So he has some new stuff related to that topic that we're going to be sharing on Friday the 1st. And so it's going to be really interesting. Of course, we're going to have Anthony Patch sitting in with us. So we got 4 for the day, and we're going to be asking questions of the code searcher based on the Rephaim Cern. Also, all those topics mixed together. So if you have any really interesting questions that you want to shoot to us, go ahead. You can do it at the End Times Matrix News Facebook page, or you can put it in the questions of this video. So May 1st, 1 o'clock Eastern, code searcher. We're going to be doing tables on the Rephaim. But today we got Chris, and she's doing a nice presentation. We've been accelerating in these birth pains and of these times with everything going on, and watching what's going on with the march towards the New World Order. And so we're going to let Chris start us off with her show here. And of course, I'll jump in as we go back and forth as we usually do. So take it away, Chris.
Okay. Hello, everybody. So today's show, we're going to be talking about the portals of Cern. This is kind of just a little bit of a continuance of what we did with Anthony last time, talking about the Cern and the pyramids and the portals and the connection to that. So we'll be talking about that and the symbolism of 5776 and the symbolism of 369. So what I wanted to start out with today is kind of like, the portals. We were talking about how Cern was possibly working to stabilize the portals. A lot of people at Cern over the years have talked about something possibly coming through. Of course, they're not going to tell us the truth on everything, so that's why we're putting this together to help people wake up about Jade Helm and what their plans are and what they're gearing towards. This is a picture of the Milky Way galaxy here. There is a black hole there, and it's near the Silver Gate. And I'm going to show some portals that are stabilized on another example from an ancient artifact that had to do with a war between of Elam and Uma. This is the Abzu bird. This bird represents the rebirth and over and over and over. And it said that the phoenix rises every 500 years. This is a lion-headed eagle. And this bird also means snake and dragon when you translate the words into the different languages in the Bible. And that's another show we're working on too, is who is the dragon?
Is that Cern below?
Yes, it is.
I'm just joking. Of course.
Well, this is a storm bird, and it is the wheel in the sky. When you see the wings and Shamash, or the sun god, going through the wheel, this is actually his vehicle. It's really interesting when you get to look at these old, when you got some understanding of the old inscriptions, and it's just really interesting seeing these old images. Go right ahead. Well, the Abzu, and he has he's a dual deity Tiamat is here. This is his female counterpart, and this is Zeus trying to kill and slay Tiamat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. A lot of history.
Mm-hmm. And his name actually means the abyss, and there was said to be a stargate in Iraq under Eridu that represents his dragon spirit under there.
Amazing.
And this is at him too, with the lion head. He would always go after a bull and lions. We showed this before. This was the December 25th, 3117 winter solstice, and this is the portal that was stabilized. And this it has to do with the Silver Gate, and this is one thing that we went over in one of our last shows. And I pointed this out to show the one that I'm going to show below regarding the Abzu bird and the king of the Lagash, which is here with the two-headed bird. Here sitting on one of the mountains. The mountains represent the pillars, and this is part, like half of a pillar, or one pillar. This is Anu, and he is in a triad with Enki and Enlil. This is kind of like the same thing when, after they had the war and they were in Egypt, this is the same as like the resurrection of Saturn. So Thoth had a temple in Nippur, and then when he was in Egypt, he was the triad with the resurrection of Saturn as the Ogdo, the 8. The 8 is very important because it represents the Kabbalah tree and the universe in the womb and the axis of the earth. And so that was the triad. So the old triad was Anu, Enlil, and Enki, but those same deities from the underworld are deities that were also in Egypt and also in different places throughout the world during different times. This is the same person as Ningersu, and eventually he was, later on, he was Ninurcha or Nintura, which represents Zeus. And so what I wanted to do too was I wanted to point out all the old artifacts. This is some of the oldest artifacts in the world. This is actually represents one deity, the twins. This is Namu. And interesting, when Obama was on that commercial, I just got to point out again, the Nikeda women had this symbol on them, and they had big blue eyes. Well, they were artifacts, they say, before. We're not really sure on the time frames because they do lie about time frames in history, in my opinion. So these were the blue-eyed people, and so was Anu, and so was Quetzalcoatl. So this has to do with gold and the mining, and then wearing masks, and supposedly traveling through space. And so here's an artifact, and this shows a spaceship. This is a really old artifact. This is another artifact showing an astronaut a long time ago. It's a Sumerian god with his Celtic cross. Adolf Hitler wore the same cross, and so does the Vatican and the Knights of Malta, the Queen, all of that bloodline. And, you know, as a matter of fact, huh?
Oh, I was going to, okay, wait. Yeah, I was going to make a comment on that picture. Just up there in the upper, well, it's kind of at the 10 o'clock, the V there is kind of the symbol that is used in the space programs all around the world. You know, that little symbol.
That's the snake's tongue, yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, it looks like that'd be interesting.
Well, on the symbol it is. On the NASA symbol, that's the tongue of the snake. And here's the phallus hat.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Interesting.
Yeah, and so what I was going to say is this not only the Abzu bird represents the resurrection constantly of that bloodline, but it does represent the bloodline of Babylon.
And that would make it. What's the? Do you know the connection with Marduk in Babylon and the Zadsud bird?
Yeah, this is representative of Marduk, and it was said that he defeated Tiamat, and he was able to be selected to, take the throne or whatever. It's just the same thing with Set and Horus and Apollo and Hermes, the twins. It's like a thing over time and through the constellations, and of these gods always fighting over the battle of the throne, just like they're doing now through the Rothschilds and their bloodline. It's the same thing. But he also represents Marduk and Zeus and Poseidon.
It just, you know how I'm always fixated on that African convergence of three presidents with, that whole weird thing with Nelson Mandela and the Voortrekker Monument and the cenotaph and all that.
Yeah.
That was just so bizarre. It's beyond belief. And supposedly this Marduk character is part of that. So I keep that in my back of my mind, just tracking the storyline.
Yeah, and in ancient texts, Marduk says that he will return, and he evidently has some sort of spaceship, and maybe it's Nibiru, I don't know. I know Anu is said to control that, and I think that might possibly be in the underworld or something.
But yeah, that's when I'm looking at him, and he's touching the Cern there. When I see Marduk next to Cern, and I think of in pop culture, the shows like The Event, where the last scene of that show is like a planet or something, big coming through a portal, like just popping out on the edge of the planet. That's why that's kind of interesting to me. But that's just speculation.
Yeah, well, the stone that he is touching is the egg, the Ogdode. And I was trying to look at the official name of it.
Yeah, I can't remember it off the top of my head. What was it? Omphalos or something?
It's called, so what he's touching here is the Omphalos, Omphalalis. And it actually does represent the navel and the universe. So this kind of is like the Kabbalah tree and the wheel in the sky.
Interesting. Yeah,
it
just
also
so much
represents
in there.
The egg and it also represents the egg and the snake, the Ouroboros, and so some people have a hard time believing in aliens and spaceships and things like that. But in the Sumerian text, I mean, you have these artifacts. Here's the Egyptian ones showing the helicopter and the spaceships. And we have anti-gravity ships that are able to probably go through portals that they stabilize.
Right. This picture here, what's interesting, the upper right one is a lot of people associate that with the Star Wars movie, the speeder that Luke Skywalker rode across the surface of the planet with. And of course, the other ones are also different kinds of planes and stuff. But it's just, this is just weird. Do you think these guys like Lucas and all these guys come up with all this sci-fi themselves? They don't. They have access to all this information, and the CIA works with them, and but so it's no mystery where all this pre-programming comes from. But go ahead.
Yeah, here's an old painting showing them in spaceships. Here's Jesus on the cross, and they sure do like to put him on the cross all the time, even though he's not on it anymore.
Don't they?
But
I can't stand that. Yeah,
in this painting, there's real angels that don't need spaceships because they are they're under the power and the love of God, and so they're able to go to the speed of light. But these spaceships, they can't do like the angels can do. That's why they have these spaceships. And here's some more artifacts here. This was from the Hidden Records. He has a lot of different takes on the stars and all of that. He studied for a long time. Here's some other ancient astronauts with their space and time thing here, just like on the Freemasons that they have in their hands. And actually, they represent the Shin rings too that I have here on. I'll show the Shin rings in a minute. I wanted to finish here on. This is the back side of Quetzalcoatl. He's a twin, so that's what I want to point out to everyone, that Quetzalcoatl is also Thoth, and he is a reptile bird. That's why when you look at King Tut and you see the bird and the snake on top of his head, his helmet or whatever he wears, that's a symbolism of the crossing of DNA, and that has a lot to do with the Abzu bird and their bloodline.
You know, so it's interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, this is the front of Quetzalcoatl, and this is the back of him showing his face. The back of him represents Venus, and the front of him represents Mercury.
Isn't it interesting that the full size is the front and the small puppet type is the back? It's almost a smaller. And also, when I look at the skull, I think of the Day of the Dead, that the Mexico, they worship that whole skull thing, and I see that skull on a lot of bumper stickers now. The Day of the Dead and the Grateful Dead and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I did a blog on that too.
That's right. We have to link it to this video.
Yeah, so this is it's interesting because also Quetzalcoatl, the young Quetzalcoatl looks just like a Nimrod statue. Exactly.
Wow.
And on his back is it says that it's the sun, but when it was young, and it's a frog. And I don't have that picture. I'm sorry.
Oh, we don't have that one, because I love that frog picture, because
I know
that lines right up with Revelation. I lines right up with that Revelation 17 with the frogs jumping out of their mouths. And I love any of the ancient frog stuff, because it just shows that these spirits are current,
Yeah, well, they say they have the reptilian DNA. The Ogdode were 4 frogs and 4 snakes, and they were said to be the primordial egg, which we're just talking about this stone, which is the Omphalos stone, which represents the tree and the universe and the phallus and all of those things. And this is, tied into the New Age cult. They are a cult, and they do worship these things. Some people are innocently doing it. They don't understand. It's just a feel-good type of thing. They want to get better. They want energy. They want to heal their body. And actually, I almost went in that direction at one point, but the Holy Spirit prompted me not to. So that's just something that, that's why Tim's writing a book about the illumination and everything. He's going to have a lot of cool stuff in there.
Oh yeah. Well, we're having all this. We have I think we have a lot of groundbreaking stuff to put together here in a short amount of time. And that's what me and Chris are working on. And,
but we will.
Well, we'll get it done though. We're going to hammer it out, and get it done.
Here's a Quetzalcoatl inside the spaceship. So you rarely see, you usually see him as like the dragon, and his head's inside the dragon, and then you see his twin brother that way too, with like a flower and a bird at the end. But this is him inside of his spaceship, and here, because his vehicle is the Abzu bird, which this is his vehicle here, and this is one of the artifacts there. But he is a twin deity, and he does have the 2 faces. And so that's kind of like the representation of Egypt, Upper and Lower Egypt, when the 2 combine together. That's why it's so confusing when you research it. It's so confusing to me still right now. But
yeah, the 2-faced deities are fascinating. Because it's like that Onias, one that came as Dagon to the Assyrians. This part fish, but inside they look inside the mouth and they see the face of the man. It was just like that previous one where that whole two-faced thing. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, he does, it's supposed to be the yin and the yang, and the life and the death and all that stuff, but it really is a false life and a false light and the death. And the death right here represents Venus. And Venus is Isis, it's a female, and they always say he, but it's actually she. This is the front, the male and the female.
Well, Isis is bringing death to the world right now, isn't she?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, this is just another artifact here. And actually, if you see those gold trinkets that look like little bees or little spaceships, those are actually the Abzu birds that they would carry around. A lot of ancient, even one of Jacob's wives carried a trinket that was her father's. And they say that there was like demon spirits that can manifest in some of these stones, because they're live stones like limestone and crystals and stuff like that. But Jacob, Tim's told a wonderful story on one of our shows about how he turned from idols and walked away. And it's a great story. So anyhow, they back then they had a lot of things that represented demonic spirits, and it was some of it was pretty disgusting. But here's Mutt, and this is another ship here next to her. This is her Waz staff. This is Cadmus's, according to the Armenian records, Agnes and Agenor and Belus represents Jupiter, and those twins were brothers. And
yeah, I just wanted to make a comment, since I've seen a lot of people commenting on other sites about they didn't know the Freemason symbol of the putter, the putter and the two balls, and it was a tubal cane. This thing that she's holding there looks like the putter symbol without the two balls. You got, so it's similar to that, like tubal cane, how they hide their little ancient Egyptian stuff in their modern emblems. But go ahead. Yeah,
that's her tuning fork. I think this is a bat. His name is Waz, and all of that part of the Egyptian with the Ogdod and the Enid, they carried these Waz staffs, and that was after the flood, so clearly, and so that was after Satan fell in Saturn, and then there was that resurrecting connection that Anthony talks about, how they're trying to reconnect through Cern. But here's another artifact with, I've seen a lot of these where he's riding inside of this circle here. Looks like the moon, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like vehicles. They're trying to say that they're traveling in the stars through vehicles, or traveling in space or the air through vehicles. And you also see this, people comment about this with the egg and the sperm, that the little man is in the sperm. If you see the ancient pictures of how they said that men are created, but it's kind of similar to this thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here is Apollo, and this is his twin deity here. So this is the 4 horses, and these are the ox, and this is, the wagons. This was in another period, I guess, through Mithricism and the worship of Jupiter too. And that, I guess, that was the church that was destroyed by the Romans because they didn't want those secrets to get out. But here's a picture. Tim sent me a link, and it was of a city that people were watching in the sky. It's a holographic image that, where was that at, Tim?
Oh, this is somewhere in Africa that was put in a paper, and it didn't look like a fraud. It looked like an actual report that people were seeing a hovering city floating in the sky. And and of course, we're thinking of the Blue Beam Project stuff, but I'm sure that's what Chris was going to comment on. But
yeah, because in China, they have a whole city in the ocean, and that's on a news video. So,
and you've seen this. News. You see this in a lot of sci-fi movies where you'll have cities floating in the sky. A lot of sci-fi movies have this kind of thing in them.
Yeah, and Jack and the Beanstalk, with the
Lot of,
giants sitting
yeah.
in the sky.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
even the Thor movies and all that, you just have these elevated flying cities, and it's just I'd say it's a subconscious imprinting that when they do play the Project Bluebeam, especially on the non-Christians who have no orientation, they only have the big hair guy from the ancient alien theory background to say, oh, here come our panspermia, fathers. Marduk. Here comes Marduk or something, So
Yeah. This is just another one of the Abzu. He's an eagle-headed bird. I mean, not eagle, sorry, lion-headed eagle bird. So here he is again, and this is another artifact during a different time. So we had the one earlier that I showed that was from Egypt. That was Namar palette in 3117. Well, this is a different one around the time of Khufu, and I think this was like around 2500 BC. And so here we see the portal right here, stabilized. Did I do this one yet? So this is a volcanic stone, and in the volcanoes, there's granite and stuff, and so that's also tied with the Nile River and the energy and the mountains and all of that stuff. But this is a sculpture. It's in the shape of Quetzalcoatl and the creator and the patron of humanity. That's what they think that he is. I'm not saying that he is, but they think that he is the creator. But funny, they think Ptah is the creator. Well, Ptah is a German name, and he was Tubal-Cain. So Tubal-Cain was of that bloodline of the British royal family that are also German. So that Abzu is their symbolism of their bloodline. So I don't say that he's the creator, but they do. And this is just to show you that. And so god of Venus and sunrise, and inventor of the calendar, which we know Hermes Thoth was, so that's who he is. In this particular time, he was called the son of Maia, which was the leader, the first queen of the seven Pleiades, which makes sense because Maya is her name in the Mayan culture is Maya, and that's where they got the Mayan calendar and all that name was from Maya. Maya was the nursemaid in official records of King Tut. So I thought that was really interesting.
Are you going to skip that number 34 that you had up there? That one there. It just made me think that that one. I just made me think of the monarch butterflies. That's all it did. That maybe this because of the face that's on them, it just made me think that is possibly a spin-off, a hidden image, is what I'm basically saying. But you go right ahead.
Probably. And so here is the omphalos on a jar. It's upside down. They just made it into the cup. But this is in the Church of the Holy
Sepulchre
in Jerusalem, and it also represents this foundation stone. So the foundation stone is the dome of the rock mosque of the Temple Mount. So this stone, you see the hole in the bird?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the foundation stone. This is the stone of the omphalos. This is the original stone that's buried under there in the Temple Mount. The Temple Mount is above the Well of Souls.
And that we saw in the dig show, in the couple dig shows again. They were under the Well of Souls with the Muslims praying right over them in that temple, in their mosque, I mean.
Yeah, there's another picture I didn't get to put in here, but it's of Lagash. He's holding, or his name's Ningirsu also, Ningirsu. and he's holding this bird to show this stone, and inside the stone are trapped souls.
Interesting.
And and what happened was that was the war of the Muslims back then. They were the Ummah, I think, and they were so there was a war with Elam, and so that was the war back then that they had, and this is part of that symbolism too during that time.
It's really interesting that it's a foundation stone, which, you know, connects with the whole, that egg thing. But you can go right ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look at it, has a hole in it. I wonder why, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's, so does all of these stones. They represent a portal, but and the wheel, the center of the wheel. So see this wheel?
Yeah.
That is what it represents right there.
Yeah, the Kaaba shaped one, the square shaped one, I didn't comment on that, but the one with the Mayan one had the cube shape also, which always makes me wonder if it's, you know, always connected to the cube of Saturn. But
so this vulture here also represents the Abzu bird. This is the queen of Lower Egypt, I believe. There's the Wadjet is the snake. So this is the combining of that with the Shin rings. These are the fire rings that Shiva dances inside of, and Shiva actually represents Thoth and Hathor too, with the Hathor and Thoth dance that they did. With the cosmic deal, with the Ogdode and all of that, and the birthing. Same thing. And this is our dollar bill, and look at the eagle here with the shield. So he only has one head. I know that there's some with two, but this is the old NASA symbol that Tim found with the wings and the shield in the center.
I love that one. Kind of says it all.
Yeah, and so Tim, you want to tell us about what day is May 1st?
Well,
and what the symbolism is of the date?
Yeah, this is actually interesting. I haven't heard anybody talk about this yet. Of course, and I didn't want to take up next show with talking about May 1st and the Illuminati, because we're going to be with the Code Searcher talking about real interesting connections with the Nephilim, Raphael, Cern, and all those things. But of course, this is May 1st is the Illuminati birthday. And if you want to know how you got to 1776, for those who don't know, the gematria of Jesus is 888. And so you add a false Jesus, another 888, and you come out with 1776. The May 1st is interesting because that's the Beltane. 4:30 is the Walpurgis or Witches' Night. And they do a lot of burning and stuff. So we're going to see probably more burning going on. We already saw some burning with the Baltimore stuff. But what's interesting to me that I haven't heard anybody mention is if you add up the 1776 May 1st date to now, you end up with 239 years. And it makes 240 years will be next year. So I went, okay, well, what's significant about that? Well, what is everybody yakking about? They're yakking about September 23rd, the Day of Atonement, aren't they? Well, what's a 23rd and a slash and a 9? It's a European way of writing September 23rd. So I was going, I think we have another confirmation on this September stuff that everybody's looking at. Is it just a coincidence that it's the 239th year? And 240 would make an 8. And what does 8 mean, Chris?
Infinity. It represents the frequency of Saturn. It's the octode of the 7 rings around it.
And it's also the new beginnings. It's the beginning of a new age. I mean, so 239 here is actually all the Illuminati's favorite numbers, basically. The 33s, the 23s, the 9s, the 6s, all this stuff's in there. And I just thought that just wanted to add that piece to the September puzzle, that it does seem like it's deliberately concocted to represent September. And, you know, when we're talking about the September stuff, we go back to talking about, I don't know, do you have those slides later on in the show? I can just hold off on that. But
yeah, I can get to them here. Let me go down to them. And I was
yeah.
going to say that Mercury is the 8th planet,
Okay.
Venus is the 7th planet. He, which is a letter of the Hebrew alphabet, Heh. He was a god that held up the boat of Ra, and he was called the infinity of a million years, and he represents the number 8 too. So, which
That's all right. You don't have to jump down there. We can just go back in order and proceed.
No,
I'm just saying. I'm just saying that Beltane is a very interesting. Yes, this is Mr. Cat Eye, and why this interested me. Okay, was that I've had an interest in the whole UFO crop circle thing, as far as just observing it. Okay, and I've always speculated, and they've always hidden stuff, but these crop circles always are popping up outside of these energy vortices and vortexes, if you want to say, that are outside places like Stonehenge. And I mean, if you were just to do a crop circle search of England, you would just find an enormous amount of crop circles that originate there. But the point of this was that he's breaking down a crop circle. Okay, this is what he does, and he has a theory as far as splitting of time in Cern, splitting in time and recombining time. Some people go into that whole altering time thing. You see that with the 12 Monkeys show. You see it with a lot of time travel shows. And so this is their theory. This is other people's workings theories on what's going on. The why there, he's representing that's two timelines being recombined and reconverging into a one. And so his thing is that you're feeding back. Cern is basically shooting backwards in time with information from the future and recombining with reprogrammed solutions so that they can avoid whatever they're trying to avoid. That's the basic idea going on here. I found this fascinating because he aligned this crop circle, and see, he came up with the Jade Helm number down there, the 915 and the 923 and the 924. And he is not, this is a different source. This is not somebody who's getting into the whole biblical prophetic prophecy side of things. He's mathematically breaking down some of these things. And so here we come up with those numbers again. Regardless of if you believe in recombining time or any of these things, it's another one of these September convergence kind of things. ELE stands for extinction level event, and a lot of people are putting out things about September. And I just thought it was interesting that we just talked about the Illuminati and their 239th year, right? So right there in the middle, you got 923. And so I'm just going, it's just confirmation after confirmation from outside sources, and also from Holy Spirit led sources, that folks who are have the what's the God's Healer 7, is it, that they've been calling the Day of Atonement. They're not talking about the world ending or anything like that, but always using the September 23rd date for years now. She's been using that for years. And it's a fascinating convergence of lots of different lines of study into this.
Yeah, because he doesn't know, he doesn't study the Egyptian or the dualism. He doesn't even know what that Y means in dualism or in Egypt.
This is a pure mathematical. Yeah, this is a pure mathematical breakdown that he's doing here, and it's a fabulous one. It's really interesting. But we took a screenshot of this from his work just to add it to what we're looking at, and it's very fascinating. But go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, the 12 is when they do the dance, the cosmic dance, and the 9 the 9 represents the moon. But I think what we're just pointing out here is this, this dates on the crop circle that has, the same date that Cern's going to start up, and Jade Helm is supposed to go through September. And so that's just interesting. It's just another connection to that date. That's what we're trying to point out here.
Right. This goes along with our 369 information that we were looking at the cardinal crosses of 3, 6, and 9 and 12. So, this plays into it somewhat.
Well, 3 is March. That's when the March equinox started. The sun is in the center of that elliptical. And then you have the autumn equinox in September. I'm not really sure exactly what that day that is, or maybe they don't either. But you also have that 3, 6, 9, because 6 is June. June represents Juno, which is the Polaris star, and they're going to start Cern up there again, and it represents and that represents the 6, which is the sun.
So we know that Cern is following this 3, 6, 9, 12 pattern. We talked about the Tesla 3, 6, 9 pattern. We just found out that when you look at the cardinal positions, that you get the 12 also. But primarily 3, 6, 9 is the pattern. And they're firing up each one of those months that they're doing stuff. And then we have this 9 thing here with this Day of Atonement. 9/13 is the Shemitah, I believe. Then we're going into all this strange Jade Helm stuff and Day of Atonement, wild stuff going on that's converging. I think that you need to be always, as a Christian, I always go back to the 5 wise virgins story, that you need to be ready now and filled with the Holy Spirit and to overflowing. You need to have a personal relationship with Jesus and read and pray and, talk to people about this. Not necessarily that you don't have to do this scare stuff. We are investigating. We already are comfortable in that we love the Lord, and He's using us in this ministry and other people's ministries to reveal the hidden things. That's what's going on. So this is just more of the hidden things being revealed, and it's interesting. It adds to the whole soup of understanding what's going on in this time period. So go ahead, Chris.
The soup?
Well, soups, you gotta.
I know. So here we have, I wanted to point something else out on here in just a second, but we have Daniel 9:24. Here's September 24th again. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city to finish the transgression and to make an end of sins and to make reconciliation for iniquity and to bring everlasting righteousness and to seal up the vision and prophecy and to anoint the most holy. So I just wanted to point that out. We're not saying that this is the end and, no, this is going to be a rapture or the abyss is going to open or anything like that. We're just pointing out the significance of all of these numbers pointing to this date here. And then on the 15th.
Right. And spiritually, people have been led to this stuff without examining the numbers. You know what I'm saying? The Holy Spirit led folks have been having dreams, visions, and all kinds of stuff without examining it to this depth. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. So in Revelation 6:5, it says, when the Lamb opened the 3rd seal, I heard the 3rd living creature say, come. I looked, and there before me was a black horse. Its rider was holding a pair of scales in its hands. And that is, those scales represent the number 15 or 555. So I just wanted to point that out. That might have something to do with this. This is representative of the March and the pillar and the sun and the other pillar here. So this is the equinoxes here, and this is the point of the pyramid at the very top of the pyramid here. And we know that at the top of the pyramid is 5776 because that's how many inches tall that the pyramid is. They did it on purpose. So here's the calendar. So it starts 1776, and this is the Kutan, and that starts in 1776. Then the top of the pyramid without the capstone ends in 2012. And then when you get up to the top of the pyramid, that is 5776. Well, September of this year, 2015, is the beginning of 5776, which is the Jewish calendar. And so what I'm trying to say is that they want their new world. I do believe that they want their new world order to begin here, no matter what happens, because I can't tell what's going to happen. Nobody knows. But I do think that based upon everything that I've seen here, that this is what they're wanting, is this new world order. This is why.
Yeah, they definitely want it. They definitely want it right now. You know, so they get to that point, they don't care what they got to do to all of us. If they got to nuke everything to have their new world order, they'll do whatever they got to do, because they got these frogs.
Well, this is the $20 bill with the Twin Towers.
Right. They got these frogs in them. You know, they got these. They got the Oniad in them. You know, or the Onid.
This right here is
got all that.
You see the oval here.
Mm-hmm.
This represents the Omphala stone here, and it's in the middle of the UN building on their mural on the wall. But this is something that happened. They had most people know by now that this was planned way ahead of time. It was in predictive programming and everything else. There's just too much evidence towards that. But I wanted to show this bill. This is the newest $100 bill, and this is a scene from New York City with the flood. Yeah. And on the other side, there's a nuke. You can see I didn't put that picture, but the nuke is going into the ocean. And so here's this from that scene here. And Jonathan Kleck, he does a good job on showing a visual of the smoke coming up, and he shows the exact nuke. It says it's a nuke hitting the ocean. So that's something that I do believe that they have planned at some point of nuking the ocean near New York City. But this is just another picture showing the New World Order and the birthing of the Antichrist and their plans there. So on here, I was going to show the Ouroboros snake around this circle.
Sure.
Here it's around the circle of the Bolivian Illuminati. Some people say he's George Washington, that he came over here and he was George Washington, but I don't know. I broke this down before, and in English, it's written in different languages, and I can't find the whole picture again to break it down. But in the middle of this picture where the H is, the H is also the Z, and the 7, which is the Zayin letter. And so I was thinking this is the end of 5776 here at the beginning of the end of the pyramid. And so there's a word here, you can't see it, but I translated it, and what it means is a birth without conception. So it's like a miracle birth that's going to happen.
Well, it's a replication of the Immaculate Conception between Mary, and everything is a copy of Jesus. Everything represents copying God with this fallen angel stuff. So another Immaculate Conception would be this. So
this is the sun and the moon, and these are the gates, the silver and the gold gate, and the eyes of Horus. So one eye is the moon, and one eye is the sun. So getting into more symbolism of Cern and opening the portals, on some of our other shows, we showed that September 24, 2015, in Roman numerals, 444 is 666, and the 2 + 4 is 6. It mirrors 4. And in 2015 is 8. It's also the year of the goat. So the Pope is going to come on September 24th to address Congress. And what were you saying, Tim, about the Romans and how they did? They would train people in different countries, wouldn't they?
The Holy Roman Empire, when they would conquer a country, what they would do is they would train those kids who were raised up in that conquered system. And when they wanted to join the legion, they would take that group of that legion and they would put it in another part of the world. And this fits right in with I think Billy Crone just did his New World Order video that just came out. We'll probably link it to this video, but basically they would take a population and then they would move that battalion or legion to another part of the world so that they're not attached to the population. And this is kind of how they've been doing things for centuries or millennia. It's just a way of having military stationed in other parts of the world. They follow orders, and they're also isolated from the population there. Where if that group was in the same population, they might resist doing what they're told to do. And so this is part of the one world system that they're trying to do. They're talking about stationing. Billy Crone talks about stationing the American troops in Europe, and the Chinese and Russians and some of the South American troops will be stationed in America. The whole point of that they can shoot the population without being, they won't hesitate because they're not part of that population, part of the strategy for a takeover.
Yeah. We'll be talking a little bit about Jade Helm again and some symbolism, and just to show you proof that they're not here to help us. This, makes a lot of sense because of what happened with China and their gold and how we're collapsing right now and everything. But we'll get to that in a second. And these numbers here in September, 9 is broken down into 3, 6, 9. And these are the numbers. 9 plus 3 is 12. So these are the same exact numbers that Mr. Cat Eye used on his video too. So it's just real interesting. The Pope is wearing the cross that Adolf Hitler wears right here. And so we've talked about that before. Too bad Anthony isn't here, but he sent me this information, and I put the link below to so on the link, this is not in their article. This is what Anthony had, what we talked about. So there's a neutrino experiment, and this is moved over here to the United States. And so according to Anthony, this is tied to their work on antimatter production. Neutrinos act as indicators and tracers for the presence of AM. Once the plan for linear accelerator is completed in Japan, it will collide matter and antimatter. Their goal is to add antimatter to their inventory alongside strangelets. All of this ties to their terraforming for a new race of beings. And it makes a lot of sense. I'm telling you, I've had people that don't know each other that sent me videos on neutrinos way before this. And I kept thinking, wow, this is just incredible information. This has a lot to do with the burning of ash, burning of the Christians and the Jewish people that they killed, not the false Jews, but the real Jews. So the false Jews, in my opinion, killed the real Jews, which are the Germans, which they claim to be British, but that's my opinion. And so they murdered them. And I guess George Soros, which he's in control of all this rioting stuff, is the one who was pickpocketing these people and stealing their money. He did. I mean, that's a fact.
It's amazing.
And so
Yeah, go ahead.
It's amazing Obama hugs him and he's his mentor, but this guy was stealing all these Jews that were in prison and is stealing their money and stuff. And then he's walking all over their dead bodies like he doesn't even care. And so all these people, they put in an incinerator, but this is a burning of the neutrinos. This is just something to do with their DNA. And this has something to do with the connection to Saturn. And so when I'm getting these videos on all these neutrinos, I'm like blown away with this. When I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, wow. And then when this ties in to Jade Helm, so let's just take a look at Jade Helm, deeper look at Jade Helm. So Jade Helm is an exercise that is supposed to be July through September. And so far it's in Texas, Utah, and they say in hostile areas or whatever. They're just starting these riots and doing all this stuff to get people stirred up, and they want to try to take over in a way. But, you know, in my opinion, I think that they have a lot of soldiers underground that we don't know about for sure.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
They've been working
definitely.
on this for a long time.
Oh, yeah. The dumbs are definitely occupied. They're not empty.
Yeah. So, anyway, here's a map that we showed last time, and here's the Madrid fault line through here. So there's going to be something, in my opinion, that's going to happen to this at some point. I don't know if it's in September or not. I do think that there's going to be a big earthquake then because of the power of the magnets, and they're just going to be so powerful. And then the history of the earthquakes during a nuclear event, when during the equinoxes, has happened so many times, and happened in September 11th during the equinox. But there was a hearing in Bastrop County, and there, thank goodness we have a lot of people that stand up here. They have this guy's holding up a verse, and he has a shirt saying, "Come and take it." So, you know, this guy here, I listened to him speak, and he says that the reason that they are here in the United States and doing Jade Helm is because that they are preparing in case they have war overseas. This is what he said. And so I'm thinking, you know what? That is ridiculous. And, you know, like Tim said, they had enough practice in World War I and World War II. And, you know, they have
And
plenty
Korea
of,
and
why are they,
Vietnam and Afghanistan and Iraq. And I think you've had enough practice with foreign wars.
yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever why they would involve civilians, dress up like civilians to blend in, have all these underground tunnels, all these Walmarts closing, and they're preparing for something. And this gives a little hint. So here's the Jade Helm, master the human domain. Why do they have a symbol with a sword and the arrows here? And why do they have this master the human domain? And then they have Jade Helm, which is the liquid immortality that the dragon has, you know, and you know, this is what's in old text or whatever. And I'm thinking, you know, why do they even have this name? And so someone did a blog, and I think I linked it at the bottom. If I didn't, I'll put it on there. And he says he did a lot of research on the clogs here. So this is why that clog is here. See, this is because this is the end times, and they sure don't want Christians to be alive during the end times, do they, Tim?
No.
Isn't this a persecution against people who follow Jesus Christ?
Sure. Of course, those Christians are a bunch of killjoys. You're getting in my way of immortality without Christ. And so we got to get the restrainer out of here and those Christians out of here so that we can have the thing come out of the abyss from the deep, come up and give us our jade immortality. You know, bunch of deceived morons.
These are Hitler's fashionable shoes for his guest. These are what the Jews had to wear, these shoes. If I was a Jew, I would be very offended of my country having a Jade Helm symbol with a shoe that they made and forced people to wear, that made sores all on their feet. It's just ridiculous that America allows this, with these people coming in to plan to kill us. We pay all that. There's a lady who made a comment on, it was one of the best comments, and she said, you know, we pay all this money so they can spill trillions of dollars on all these underground tunnels so they can kill us.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it just doesn't make any sense. You know?
Obama is flying in tons of Muslims. He can just sprinkle them around the country so that they can join in the uprisings to kill the infidels. Isn't it nice how we just open the borders and then we let the Muslims come in, and we're going to have the Russians and the Chinese coming through the borders, and and just like you said yesterday, the TPP is a great for America. It's just great. And I'm just going, it's like you have to be insane and still drinking the Kool-Aid to believe in any of these people in Washington have our best interest for us.
Yeah, this is, the Georgia Guidestones, and they want to maintain humanity under 500 million. They want to balance with nature. And you know what? That has a lot to do with a lot.
Well,
It's a
they're
very
all
deep
into
spiritual thing.
you know, they're all into recycling. So what's the problem with recycling 7 billion people? You know, it just makes sense.
Yeah, here's the new Walmarts that closed. California, 3 in Texas just closed. 1 in Florida just closed. Here's Greg Abbott in Texas. He said, I've ordered the Texas State Guard to monitor Jade Helm 15 to safeguard Texans' constitutional rights, private property, and civil liberties. Texas is, what kind of state is that, Tim? They have their own treaty.
Right. Well, Texas, of course, is traditionally a state that has a high population of constitutional folks, very much fierce independence with the Alamo and all this stuff, and they see it as a area that they need to move around. That they're going to have a lot of resistance in that state. There's some states you're not going to have a lot of resistance. There are other ones you're going to. But the point is, they're getting their guys pre-positioned for whatever this September thing is. You know, whether it's asteroids or whether it's earthquakes or nukes going off, World War III. It could be all of it combined for whatever we know. They're just throwing out a bunch of stuff out there at us. You know, Cern opening up, you know, Jack and the Beanstalk being reconnected and the giants coming down. Who knows? You know, that's the way it is right now.
Here's your 2 arrows on Jade Helm.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't even think of the 2 arrow part. 2 earthquakes.
11.5 and 11.3. The queen behind it, her license plate says 444, which is a reflection of 666. And there you have Alice, which is part of Cern, and it's the or what is it? This 8 here that represents the Ogdode, and so here it is, the 8 of the Temple of the Mount. It's 8-sided.
Yeah.
Here's the 8 and the 8. 4 and 4 is 8. 4 and 4 is on her car here. If you I've looked at it, and we had another video that showed the whole thing there. But here's your asteroid from the Illuminati card a long time ago on the Illuminati card game. They showed an asteroid hitting right here. Where's that at?
It looks like the capstone too. If you look at it, you see how it's like the capstone coming to strike. Isn't that interesting that the capstone of the pyramid looks like the meteor strike?
Yeah. Yeah, well, the capstone represents the Ben bird, the Bennu bird, which is the
right.
Phoenix.
This has got fire on it, just like the Phoenix. You see the fire and the red. It's got a lot of symbolism there of your Phoenix.
Well, for people interested, you can look up the words in the Bible for the dragon, and you can translate it and see that dragon is the same exact word as Nahash. And and what's the name of the snake, Tim? It's Naga.
Yeah, the Nagas are really interesting. The Nakash of the Bible and the Nagas of the real interesting stuff with these different type of the serpent history of the world from the Garden of Eden to now, basically, is amazing.
So the dragon, if you look at the history, Abzu is the dragon. It looks. I mean, it doesn't look like a dragon because it's a lion-headed eagle, but that's what they call it, a dragon. And it actually, dragon is a serpent, and it translates to snake and different things. So that's just real interesting.
We're going to elaborate on that whole context in the book that we're putting together. That's going to be blown up quite a bit, so you'll have a lot more information on that.
This was the beginning of the spring equinox here, or the next day was, but here it is here with a black sackcloth sun. There's going to be other solar and lunar eclipses. I don't have that slide here, but I was just going to point out September 28th is going to be Sukkot, and this is going to be a red blood moon. And this 4 days after Cern starts up and the Pope addresses Congress. Maybe he'll say he made that moon turn red. I don't know. But one thing I wanted to point out is that Romans 6:9 says, we know that Christ, being raised from the dead, will never die again. Death no longer has dominion over him. So he was in the flesh and he died and he rose again. Well, these gods and goddesses and the firebird, which is the Bennu bird in the Babylonian bloodline, they continue to show themselves resurrected as Osiris. And Osiris and Horus and Zeus and all these people are not Jesus. Jesus Christ has nothing to do with that. And so I just wanted to point that out. But this verse says it all. He doesn't have to resurrect again. No. He's coming back. There's a second coming of Christ, and he's coming back.
And that's what that's what we're supposed to pray for, you know. Yeah. His
no eye has seen, no ear has heard, no mind has conceived what God has prepared for those who love him.
Awesome.
And you know what? God has prepared a place for us. He says that there's many in his mansion, there's many rooms, and he has prepared a place for us. And we're his children. And so even though the world is corrupted,
Amen.
we don't have to belong to the world. I don't belong to the world. Amen. And we don't have to like the world, because we're supposed to not like it.
Well, you know, the thing is, what's great about what we've done and other people have done is you expose the layers of lies. It's just lie upon lie upon lie. And after some point, you can say, can you let go of your reality that's based on lies to embrace Christ and his return? And that's what we get into with all these shows. We expose these crazy shows that they put on the TV and the movies, because they all talk about stopping the revelation of Jesus. We must stop the 4 horsemen. We must stop the apocalypse. You can't stop it. The point is, there's justice is coming, and a just king is coming, and these false lying entities that are from the fallen angels are getting their comeuppance, and they're going to try to take out every human that goes along. That's what the deception is. Everybody goes along with this whole Ogdod and Enid and all the stuff we're talking about. They're all going to be sacrificed to the New World Order, even the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. They're all going to end up being sacrificed for the New World Order. And the point is, they'll all be in hell along with these entities. So their whole point is just to deceive and take as many people along with them as they can. And we aren't buying the deception. We have the Holy Spirit in us. We have the oil in our lamps. We're looking forward to Jesus' return, so that true justice, there is no black and white Hegelian dialectic going on with Jesus. There is no darkness in Jesus. He is all light. He's all truth. He's all justice. And he is the grace and the mercy. This world is turning into a police state, because law without grace and mercy is tyranny, and it's brutal. And there's the people who write the laws. If they're criminals, they can use it against everybody else. And that's what you're seeing is going on. You see these Clintons and these Obamas, they break laws and they write laws, and the laws benefit them. They don't live up to any of these laws because they don't have the Holy Spirit in them. They don't have Christ in them. They don't respect Christ, and they only serve themselves. Do as thou wilt should be the whole of the law. That's what you're seeing. That's the satanic Illuminati machine. And when the grace and mercy and the restrainer is removed, you're going to see bloodshed like you've never seen. So we don't want to be in that. So we want God to intervene and spare the innocent. And he will. He's going to spare. He's going to shorten the times, because the bloodshed is just going to be horrific, with this demonic force loosed on the earth, allowed to run the course of their deception. And then there's final justice. So this is a beautiful verse that Chris has here, because that's our future. we
Yeah,
can't
you know what?
grasp it. You know,
Nimrod built his. That's what they're doing, is building the temple. You know, the Babylonian. They want the Hammurabi laws back in, and they want everyone to worship the one world order, the one world religion, and that's what they're doing. They're preparing for the new world order, which is 5776, and they call it the year of light. The Freemasons have a lot of their books have 5776 year of light. They say August, so who knows? But this is something that Nimrod did. The Egyptians had temples like Nimrod where they would go up the stairs and the sun would shine in certain parts of it, and they had a Nile going around it, and they had it aligned with the planets, and they did a stretching of the cord ceremony, you know, like they did with Ham when he was the first pharaoh of Egypt after the flood, I believe, and he did the stretching of the cord ceremony with Thoth and Seshat, and in Hebrew his name is transferred to Kemasabwe, and so those are just interesting things that if you dig enough, you can find the truth. You can look up Armenian records and see the name of Agenor and Belus, and Agenor's son was Cadmus, and his daughter was Semele, which is Mut. That's what I forgot to say earlier when you saw Mut with the space crab next to her with a Waz tuning fork. She is Semele, which is Cadmus's daughter, and she actually became the queen of Upper and Lower Egypt, which was the wife of Belus, which was Jupiter Ammon. So I just think that's interesting when you finally get to look at the truth of that, and hopefully we can put something together and show those documents and show the documents of the sea, and how some of the people that were on ships, they would complain about some of Japheth's sons, that they had different names, not different names, but different spellings back then in their languages, but that's who they are. It's just really interesting.
Yeah, and I just want to make a observation that all this pursuit that we've been doing with Anthony and revelation on Cern and all this stuff is it's a fascinating thing, because they used Cern, established the internet, and they were going to use this to do their grids and their nets and traps, and to gather information on all of humanity, and to get us all into this transhumanist prison cell that they want to do. But the reverse has also happened, and that people like Chris and I and other folks have been allowed to really get into revealing their plans. So what they unleashed on us to trap us has also unleashed the ability to expose them. And I've enjoyed that aspect of the internet and the revelation of exposing their evil plans. They sought to entrap, and we sought to drive everybody towards a knowing knowledge of Jesus Christ, who is the only way out of this system. And when you understand that, then this is the lovely aspect of the internet. The Christians coming together from all around the world outside of the controlled institutions that have been indoctrinated from, the God of this world, which is Satan, and he's has control over the governments of the world, and also these religious institutions at the top. And so we've been able, through the Holy Spirit, to come together as the body of Christ, so a whole bunch of different folks, and expose these people and help people to come to wake up, as they say, and understand that Christ is going to be the only way out. And it's been real enjoyable to be able to work with other Christians. And of course, we have Anthony, and we have the code searcher Matthew Wright going to be with us, and to expose some more stuff on Friday. And what else do we want to wrap up with at this point for this show?
Well, I just wanted to say that, Abraham didn't bow down to Nimrod. Mm-hmm. And Nimrod threw him in the fire, and he just walked around and he told him to come out of there, and the same thing with Daniel in the lion's den. I just want to make it clear that those that belong to God are his children and his coveted people, and he will protect us. The judgment and the wrath are going to come on all these evil banksters and all these evil people that want to kill Americans and end up turning on us at some point. And, you know, during these times, God knows our hearts. And, you know, I just think that people, I just want people just to be aware of how powerful God is and that he is in control of everything. I know he is. Absolutely. And we're here just to expose things of what people are doing. I mean, we're reaching a lot of different people, you know, on different walks of life, different views of the world and everything else. And so we don't know everything. We love people making comments and sharing their thoughts on what we're talking about, and just, you know, joining in, and appreciate everybody that watches our show. We pray for our show, and if someone leaves a comment asking for prayer, I write it on my list and pray for them, and other people pray for them too, because Tim has a lot of set of prayer warriors that are praying, and we can feel their prayers. I mean, these people. We got
prayer warriors always seeking requests for what to pray for with their groups. And of course, a show like this, we need the prayer coverage from the prayer warriors. So you got to remember, the prayer warriors are the ones behind the scenes who make information and the ability for people to be reached with information possible, because they seek through the Holy Spirit to pierce the darkness, which is the evil that is coming around the world. But, you know, with prayer, you can puncture and absolutely have dominance over the fallen world, because we walk in the authority of Christ. So the prayer warriors, we really appreciate you praying for us, praying for our safety. It makes it so that we can bring forth shows like this and actually puncture the darkness, and so that we can all have some revelation, and everybody leaves comments is helping with you know, the revealing the hidden things that are being exposed at this time. So if you have prayer requests, pray for, you know, just put them in there. Contact us through the YouTube channel, or you can contact us through the End Times Matrix Facebook page, and you can direct message me, and I'll get those requests to the prayer warriors. And we are praying for people's healing and deliverance from everything, from all the demonic aspects. And so anybody just wants to put us on their prayer list, pray for the show, which means that helping out people to get delivered and to get, you know, deliverance from this flesh-dominated world.
Right, and don't forget to tune in on Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern time with the Bible Code Searcher. It's going to be really a good show, and Anthony will be with us too. Right, Tim?
Oh yeah, and just shoot if you have some questions that you want to ask Matthew Wright, the Bible Code Searcher. We're going to be focusing on his new table. I'm sorry, I keep calling them panels. But there might be some really good questions or search terms that you might just want to shoot to us that we can relay to him, and see if see if we can get a table written up on certain terms that come up from Friday. So 1 o'clock Eastern time, Code Searcher, Matthew Wright, and Anthony Patch, and we will try to be right on time that day, since we have so many guests with us. You know, when it's just me and Chris going back and forth, we let the start times drift a bit, but we'll try to be right on time that day.
That's right. So we'll see you Friday.
All right. You all have a great day. Bye-bye.